Hello, welcome guys back to Building Regime. This is episode number 7, where me and Ellis are going to talk you through building the brand regime and give you an update on the previous week of building the brand. So yeah, should we start with this?
Well, I think in terms of updates, there actually isn't that many for this week. So both of us were sort of contemplating whether we even record it or not. But we did commit to providing an update every week. So we're going to stick to that. But we're kind of in the same spot from what you'd look at from the outside in, objectively, in that we're still waiting on our manufacturer to basically just get the new set of flavorings sent to their facility. So we've been waiting now for just under 2 weeks. They put a 3-week lead time on it. So the hope is that at the end of next week, they'll have a good update for us, and then we can book in that second day to go down and do another taste testing day as soon as possible.
It's kind of tricky, isn't it? Because even we spoke about it last week, and now speaking about it this week, and it's likely we're going to speak about it next week because we just have to sit and wait. So it's kind of tricky. We've obviously been speaking off camera about how we can feel like we're being productive even when it feels like we can't. So I don't know, how are you feeling about the whole project right now, and what's your general kind of headspace looking like? Because I know mine's a bit ropey.
Well, it's very easy to get disheartened by the whole thing, because if you look at it objectively, it's all right, it's 3 weeks and then we can resume and develop it forward, which is actually progress. But then when you're in the moment, it just feels like you're just waiting, aren't you, constantly? But that being said, like we were discussing off camera, like you were saying, I think we just need to take a bit more of an ownership standpoint with it, and then actually be doing things that we can be doing to push the brand forward without necessarily that meaning developing the product further, which we can't do right now. So, we've got to wait that time, but there's definitely things that we can be doing to sort of gain awareness for the brand, build some further traction, and also a few other exciting things that we've been discussing that we can do to build regime out as a whole, and not just necessarily have this 3 weeks dead time. Because if we do that, then it's just months and months of wasted opportunities, isn't it?
Yeah, definitely. I think that the last certainly 2 weeks have been sort of my lowest point in the project, I think, because I feel like the whole build up to R&D was really exciting, buzzing to get it done, and then it didn't quite go as planned. Obviously, it's still progress, but it feels like quite a setback because now we're just waiting again for the next point. And I think it kind of depends how you look at it, really, because again, the first few weeks or a couple of weeks, I was just kind of getting a bit mixed emotion, pissed off and tired of it and just bored of waiting. And then now we're kind of, like you say, discussing other ways in which, and I think you said it last week, but I think it is an excuse, just kind of, you get, I do anyway, I get to a point of blaming things, fuck's sake, this isn't working, that's not working. But in reality, you can still do other things. And again, I think that now we've been talking about those sort of things we can do, other options, it feels like we've got a bit more control, I guess. So I'm starting to feel a bit better.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's kind of tricky. I think it's just kind of, I want to give a real transparent view on how I'm feeling about it, because it's kind of relevant. I think most people go through it, but it just feels, like I say, it just feels like dead time. It's just been wasted. We're just waiting. But in actual fact, there's so much stuff we could be doing.
Yeah, I think it's one of those things, though. It's when you get into those little low points or feeling sad or whatever about it, at the end of the day, it's kind of a choice, because really sadness is just a feeling of a lack of things you can be doing or control. But really, I think you just got to flip your mindset from fixed to fluid, because really there's so many other ways that we could pivot certain things and be doing other stuff, and even selling other stuff, because ultimately we're a hydration brand. That's what we're doing. So we were talking about before, it is just an excuse. It's we'll just do the easy thing and wait. But it's no,
waiting makes you feel worse.
Exactly. I think all this, we were talking about the first few episodes when things are a bit easier, at the end of the day, clarity comes through action. And when you're not doing anything, it's you're not going to be really clear, are you? You're just sitting there and waiting. And we can't really do that. So like we were saying before, we're just going to build the brand out in other ways, and all these other little things that we were working on alongside Electrolytes that we are closer on, we can sort of pull those more to the front and then work on the Electrolytes in the background, like we were saying before. And I think that's kind of the key to moving forward with the inevitable setbacks that are coming along.
Well, are there any things that have you felt kind of unsure of, or things that you kind of question? For example, like for me, I find it, once we've spoken about kind of being more, we spoke about it last episode, but being more creative and taking like the reins on, really trying to be quite bullish in what we're doing and not really caring about, well, not caring about embarrassing ourselves, or just getting out there and get the brand out there in any way we can. I find it kind of tough to think of ways we can do it without spending loads of money. And obviously at the minute we don't have like infinite budget, but there obviously are ways we can do it. But trying to find those ways that are like kind of cool, creative, and get people's attention, it's quite difficult in my opinion.
Yeah, it is. It's one of those things because really, like the biggest needle mover for the whole project is getting product. Like that's what we're doing. We're trying ultimately to sell electrolytes. What I feel like where the challenge lies is it's almost like clutching at straws and finding ways to like keep the momentum going without actually doing the thing, which is building the products and the brand out.
Yeah.
So like we said before, I think we just need to flip our mindset towards the other things that we were working on, aka like some of the accessories and bits that we can actually have control over, getting to market faster, working on those whilst we're obviously the electrolytes are at the forefront of the picture, right? But we're able and have more control over getting those to market quicker, so we can build some traction with the brand and provide value to our customer base in that way whilst we're doing that, rather than just basically sitting, waiting, and then doing all of that work when we eventually launch. I think like that's the solution.
Yeah, I agree. And I think, like say, it brings that productivity back to the front of the project and the brand, like pushing the brand forward more. Whereas before, I think that's the kind of reason for the sort of low point, is that like you just feel like you're just wasting time. You're just sat waiting and you can't do anything. And it's like you can't do this until that's done. And it's like you just get yourself a bit of a spiral.
Yeah, I think the overall lesson of this whole thing that we need to take forward, and that anyone's listening to it now, is basically, I think you just have to be fluid and then not take like the little conversations you have in the like, do you know what I mean? Like we were like, oh, we're going to get R&D done this day and it's going to move forward that way. And then when it doesn't happen, you're left there and have no clue what to do. I think the key is just having a mindset of being like, no matter what happens, I'm just going to find a way that I can keep moving forward. And then just having that. And that's empowering. It's not like depressing. Do you know what I mean? Because we've been in a depressive mindset, which has been causing it, when really there is, because ultimately we're building a hydration brand. So whether we launch with the electrolytes or the other little bits that we've been working on that we were going to sell as well, it's the same thing.
Yeah. I think that, well, yeah, you're completely right. I don't know if we've been depressive. I think we've just been optimistic, but, well, I hope so anyway. But anyway, it's kind of interesting because I speak to someone else we know about the whole project in general. And it's really funny because I was just saying, like, a massive thing I'm taking off of the whole kind of experience of doing this is that literally nothing goes as planned. Nothing. Like, there's nothing we've done which has been the exact date we thought it was going to be done by, or the exact... It's just never worked out exactly as planned. So, like you said, being sort of fluid and being able to adapt to like changes or things that might happen is massive key.
I think it's just important in general, like even outside of the brand itself, just like spotting opportunities in anything. If you're too fixed and rigid in your plans and your deadlines, then you're like tunnel visioned and you miss everything else. So I think it's just having like a bit more of an open mindset, because then you can kind of, let people like roll with the punches. Like it actually is a thing.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? Like, and we're seeing it now. It's like, fine. Yeah, fine. You've got 3 weeks, but like, how are you going to use it? Because like, so let's say anyone who you look up to who's done anything worthwhile, if they were in our situation right now, this is how I've been trying to think about it. They wouldn't be just sitting here waiting to get a product, waiting on the manufacturer to get the flavoring. It's like, fine, it's not in our control, us like developing that anymore in the next 3 weeks, but there's loads of other stuff we can be doing, like that actually will have like a meaningful contribution. So we just have to be doing that, and then it will all come together. So that's kind of the big lesson for this week. Be fluid and finding new ways to actually make progress rather than just sitting there waiting with this little fixed mindset that gets you nowhere, isn't it? I think that's the key. And I mean, obviously I'm exaggerating it because we are obviously making progress and it's just one of those hurdles, which when we zoom out, it's not going to be that big a thing, but you get my point.
Yeah, no, I 100% agree. Do you think there's anything else to cover this week? Obviously there's been no real updates in terms of what we've been doing. Hopefully may have a couple more for next week, but like I say, the main mover in the electrolytes is just R&D day, next R&D day.
I mean, obviously, we're developing our like designs alongside it, working with our designer, which is going well. And and obviously every time we get a new run through, we post it on our Instagram with the options, and we're letting you guys choose. So that's something that we didn't mention. Obviously, I'm here today, but that went well. We had some good responses, and it is guiding our next decision, which is good. And when we get off here, we're about to shoot the email back to our designer, sort of with that feedback, to then get our next run. So I guess you can expect that as well.
Yeah. Perfect. Cool. Well, yeah, as always, make sure you're following us on the pod at Building Regime on YouTube and Spotify, and on Instagram and TikTok at Drink Regime. Again, as I said, there'll be polls and posts about packaging and all sorts of questions about how the brand is going to be built out. So if you're not following, follow and get your input in there. So yeah, cool. Well, we'll see you next week.
Sounds good. See you soon.